Hello and welcome to my second TTT tutorial. This time we'll be covering the basics on playing the innocent class. Get used to being innocent as you'll be one for about 60 to 70% of the time. As an innocent, your job is to survive. Of course, you either have to kill all the traitors or simply wait for the timer to run out. Some maps have objectives that guarantee an innocent win, but these are usually incredibly time consuming and rather difficult to pull off without traitors shooting at you. Killing the traitors is definitely the easier route, as the timer starts about 5 minutes and goes up 20 seconds for every innocent who dies. On larger servers, the timer can easily have over 5 minutes of overtime. Traitors can also get radars which let them track you down, which means that waiting until the timer goes down is usually only useful as a last resort after a really long round. As an innocent, you want a weapon that's good for self-defense, but can deal a lot of damage close up when a traitor tries to shoot you. I'd personally recommend a shotgun or MAC-10. Only use the M16 if you're good with it. Don't use ever. And unless you plan to go sniping, which is not a good idea unless you're proven, then don't use the rifle. And even then, try to keep a spare weapon to switch to on location if somebody tries to shoot you. Sidearms and grenades don't really matter. Just pick the ones that you're really comfortable with. As a rule of thumb, call a KOS on fire on anybody who does any of the following. Start shooting at a player for no reason. Call a false KOS. Have a traitor weapon such as a knife, Newton launcher or C4 unless they specifically mention picking it up from a traitor's corpse beforehand. Walk past or run away from un-ID'd bodies. Shoot a detective. Walk inside a traitor room. Or run away when asked to go to the traitor tester. An easy way to call KOS, especially if you don't have a microphone, is to use the radio or suit zoom chat. Go to options and bind suit zoom to an easy to reach key. In my case it's M3, middle mouse. This brings up a basic menu with text like player I last saw is a traitor or I'm with player I last saw. This is faster than mic based KOS calls, and even if you fail to call them out, the last words on your body will automatically indicate who you're calling, letting the rest of the innocents know who killed you. You cannot kill based on suspicion alone, you need some sort of proof. Generally, anything traitorous is enough to call a KOS. Call a suspicion if what they did isn't quite enough to warrant a KOS. People who have stuck around other innocents for a long time, or have helped call out or track down a traitor, are usually more trustworthy than those who haven't. You don't need to tell anybody who you trust and who you don't, just keep that information to yourself, unless it's complete proof that they're innocent or KOS/suspicion worthy. This info will come in handy during the endgame when only a few people are alive. I cannot stress this enough, communicate with your fellow innocents, preferably via microphone. It is the second fastest way to call a KOS and lets you call out specifics incredibly quickly, such as location. If activity is unusually low in the mid to late game, call a live check with a KOS on anybody who doesn't respond. If there's no response, you're most likely alone with 1 or 2 traitors left. People who are picked as traitor also change their attitude during a round. It never counts as proof, so just keep it in mind as a suspicion. If you run into an un-ID'd body, first of all check the alignment. If they're innocent, check how long ago the person was killed and if it has DNA on it. If there's DNA and the person was killed more than 15 seconds ago, call a detective, tell them to come over and wait by the body or bring it to the detective. If there's DNA and the person died less than 15 seconds ago, then check the weapon that caused their death, call a detective and hunt down the killer. Chances are they're not too far away and are either escaping or trying to get you next. If there's no DNA, check the cause and time of death. It usually won't have many clues. If they died 5 seconds ago to a rifle, then you might want to duck. While you play, get familiar with the maps you're on. Learn where the guns and traitor traps are. Learn if there's a test and how to activate it. Learn where the busiest spots are, and keep an ear for C4s. C4s are an innocent's worst nightmare, especially on smaller maps. Most have a fuse of 45 seconds, and if you hear very fast beeping, it's about to go off. The C4 is fatal and will travel through walls. You'll take heavy damage and knockback even if you're outside the fatal blast radius. If the beeping is fast, run away. If the beeping is slow, check the most common spots. If you don't find it, run away. If you find it, defuse it by cutting one of 6 wires. You have a 1 in 6 chance of failing a 45-second C4, a 2 in 6 chance of failing a 1-minute C4, and a 3 in 6 chance of failing a 2-minute C4. C4s are rarely armed above 2 minutes. Failing to disarm it makes a much smaller explosion, so you'll die, but your team will be more or less unharmed. If you disarm it, do not, I repeat, do not destroy it. Tell the detective you disarmed it and tell him to get a DNA sample. He might suspect you, but it will be worth it to track down the traitor. The only exception to this is when the traitor is dead. If the C4 isn't disarmed and the traitor who planted it is dead, then his body will contain information on a guaranteed safe wire to cut, so use that to disarm the C4. One of the best ways to improve your odds of survival and victory is to become proven, either by killing a traitor or being tested in the map's traitor tester. Being proven means that other innocents will not suspect you, which helps them narrow down the choice of people who are traitors, and this also means you can stick with other proven players or detectives, which means that any traitor who wants to fight you has to face a group of 2 or 4 people head on, and try and pick them off from afar, or be very good with C4 prediction. This has been Cody9. I hope you've enjoyed my guide, and have fun!